Jake Hatch of Locked On Cougars talking all things BYU. As you look at the March Madness bracket this time around, obviously, unsurprisingly, the SEC got a whole lot of love based on what we've heard, not just in college football, but now college basketball from national pundits. Does it feel like the committee got it backwards when you look at the fact the Big 12 is still the best league in college basketball 9 of the last 11 years, and at the first opportunity to do so, they flipped that to favor the Big 10 and the SEC?
I hate to be the conspiracy theorist here, Drake, but it feels like the big brands are throwing their weight around once again. And yet again, the SEC and the Big 10 get the benefit of the doubt. You and I were obviously Big 12 stands. We're always going to stand up for our league. But yeah, it sure feels like the Big 12 got hosed pretty hard. None more so in my mind than West Virginia. Looking at what the Mountaineers had done, they feel like they should have been in this tournament. I think they should have been in this tournament. The Big 12 should have had 8 teams. 14 teams from the SEC goes in line with that whole storyline all season long. Shame. I like that. That's well done. Whoever put that up. I love that. But the thing is, the SEC, we heard all season long, Drake, hey, they're so good. They're so good. Ken Pomeroy has the gall, and obviously Ken lives here in the greater Utah area, and I've become a close acquaintance of his over the years. He writes a blog post saying, hey, the SEC might be a tad bit overrated. What does the SEC do? Greg Sankey has the audacity to be like, who is this Ken Pomeroy and why is he ripping my league? It told me everything I need to know. The SEC's throwing its weight around, trying to make sure that they are the big dog for everybody to understand that we own college sports, and I hope they fall flat on their face.
Yeah, that has been a big piece of contention here, the treatment of SEC schools. And really, Jake, not even that right now. I'm also looking at North Carolina, at some of these Big 10 teams, the way that they were offered pretty favorable spots in March Madness this year. And as much as I want to say the ACC was historically bad, they are. There's no way to argue that. Still, North Carolina gets in over West Virginia, as you just mentioned. And then whose athletic director is up there justifying this? Boo Kerrigan of North Carolina.
Yeah, okay, here's the deal. It's a really, really bad look. North Carolina having their sitting athletic director be the tournament committee chairman, and he can say all he wants, Drake. Well, I wasn't in those meetings when we were brought up. Mm-hmm. Yeah, well, guess what? You can excuse yourself from the meeting. That you have to do that. But here's the deal. Everybody in that room has this sense of, hey, so, Boo over there, he happens, be North Carolina's AD, and North Carolina being this blue blood that they are, CBS wants these blue bloods in. It's a really, really bad look. You can't defend it. North Carolina was 1-12 in their Q1 games this year. You mentioned the ACC. Historically bad. I think you mentioned it not too long ago. The ACC didn't have a single ranked versus ranked game the entire conference season. I know that Duke's elite. I know there's some elite teams in the ACC, but as a league, pretty rough year for one of the traditionally strong basketball leagues out there. And to have North Carolina make it in over the likes of a West Virginia, in Indiana, even a Boise State out here in the western part of the United States, it's a really, really bad look to have them in the field and have their AD be the sitting committee chair.
Can we put in perspective here? The SEC getting 14 in, the Big 10 got 8, Big 12 at 7. Prior to the Big 12 at 7, prior to this, that 70% was up there for one of the best percentages all time for a league in college basketball history. Now the SEC gets, I can't do 14 out of 16. I can't do the percentage, but I can tell you that is a record for teams by 3. What blows my mind, Jake, is it feels as though the committee takes a league that did well in the non-conference, that did well early in the year for 13 games. All of you went 12-1, 11-2, and had some good wins. And from there, it's like you couldn't be docked for beating each other. It's why we dock the Big 12 in football all the time. And in basketball, in the case of West Virginia. But in the SEC, they went 500 as a league because, of course, they did. It's what you have to do as a conference. And so no one was really docked despite regressing over the course of the year. Their conference affiliation got to help them keep their status. And in the end, they get 14. No matter what, there's zero way they are that generational for 14 out of 16 to be in.
Okay, here's the deal. And all due respect, I'm going to pick on our friend John Williams of Locked On Sooners. I am sorry. Oklahoma, were they 6-12 in conference, Drake? How in the what do they get a 9 seed as a 6-12 team in the SEC? And that's just one example here. I do not understand the philosophy the tournament committee had here outside of buying into the narrative out there about how good the SEC has been. But you're right. They were a 500 league in terms of their conference record, and that should not reward you with a record amount of teams making the NCAA tournament. I'm sorry. It does not math in my mind. And I'm going to back up my guy, Ken Pomeroy. He had the stones to come out ahead of all this and say, hey, the metrics say the SEC is a bit overrated here. Greg Sankey freaks out and immediately fires back at him. I'm telling you, Ken Pom knows something, and I'm right in line with him. I think the SEC is poised to fall on their face, and I hope that they have a bad showing, because this is a really, really bad look to see them get 14 teams in, because they're just not that good of a league.
Why do you think? I mean, I know you mentioned, or we've hypothesized that the SEC status as someone the major TV networks looks fondly toward. Why do you think they're able to get away with this? Is it just the haves can continue to have, and as the have-nots complain, will it fall on deaf ears?
Well, and the funny thing about this, Drake, is CBS and Viacom, they're obviously the big dog when it comes to the NCAA tournament. Like they air all these games. They're on those networks. You would have thought a thing like the SEC football being ripped away from CBS might have had CBS thinking, hey, we're going to stick it to the SEC. Well, conversely, they are all of a sudden rewarding everything SEC. So for the life of me, I don't understand it. You're right. That just doesn't seem like this is the banner type season that some would make you out to believe it is, with these 14 teams getting into the NCAA tournament. We could see 7 of them done after the first round, it feels like, and there would still be SEC honks out there who are like, see, we're absolutely elite. And I'm like, well, you're still 500. 7 teams won, 7 teams lost. Yet again, right in line with the 500 record you guys had all conference season long.
Yeah, it's odd to see the way that the SEC is loved now in basketball after the Big 12 was so dominant for so long, and that's been thrown out the window. How quickly we forgot the elite status of the Big 12 conference, and it hurt ultimately schools like BYU or Iowa State, who are fighting there really late to get better seeds, or West Virginia, who was left out in total because they thought an SEC team or that extra big brand from the ACC deserved to be in March Madness. Coming up, is there what's up, Jake?
I just want to inject one more thing on this. I have always been a guy who obviously I'm gonna rep for BYU because that's my show that I do here, Drake. This year more than ever, I am back in the Big 12. Every Big 12 team, you've got a super fan in Jake Hatch. I want nothing more than the Big 12 to go out and put a statement. And I'm talking everybody. I hope they all advance and stick it to the powers that be.
I think the entire Big 12 was an agreement that West Virginia was hosed in this entire deal, and a lot of people coming out of the woodworks from all fan bases to voice that over the last couple of days. Coming up, BYU's a 6 seed. They can't play on a Sunday. Is there something to this? Is there a religious reason BYU was overlooked by the committee? This is a Locked On Big 12, Locked On Cougars crossover. Today's show is brought to you by Monarch Money. Monarch Money is spectacular. Look, I turned 24 a couple of weeks ago. I'm trying to figure out the whole money thing, and Monarch Money has been great. If you check your bank account, you wonder, where did all my money go? Dining out, online, shopping, entertainment, you lose track. Monarch Money comes in here, your personal CFO, giving you full visibility and control. Monarch Money isn't just a budgeting app, complete financial command center. Track all your accounts, investments, and spending in one place. Stop managing your money and start building wealth. Surprising insights. When I started Monarch, I realized just how much I was spending on DoorDash and food delivery and stuff like that. And it's convenient because you can juggle multiple apps and throw those away. Use Monarch, the one app for tracking finances, spending, and even planning long-term goals. And managing money with your partner is smoother than ever, where you can track shared personal accounts. Take control of your finances, Monarch Money. Use Locked On College at monarchmoney.com for 50% off your first entire year. That's monarchmoney.com. Use code Locked On College for half off your first year with Monarch Money.